Hello, I'm Nouran Ibrahim, a 3D modeling and texturing artist. In this video, I'll break down my Mari workflow for texturing a sci-fi vehicle and share a few smart materials and masks you might find helpful in your own projects. As an organic modeler, I wanted to step outside my comfort zone and expand my skill set by diving into hard surface modeling. The Speeder project was my way of challenging myself with something completely different. And while it definitely pushed me, it turned out to be an incredibly rewarding experience. This project was inspired by a concept artwork created by Kyung-Hwan Kim. I also took this opportunity to experiment with a new texturing technique using the Mari node graph workflow. My process began with a clear concept supported by a strong reference board. After defining a clear vision for the final result, I carefully studied the references to identify the exact material types required for the asset, such as metal, leather, plastic, rubber, and glass. Next, I gathered high-quality texture resources to ensure realism and consistency across the asset. I used Mari's new mesh map creation system, the Bakery, to bake essential maps, such as curvature and ambient occlusion, which were later used to drive procedural masks during the texturing process. There are several parameters you can tweak to change how the map looks with real-time visual feedback. Once the baking process is complete, I create a geo-channel named after the generated map and connect it to a teleport broadcast node to make it accessible across the project. I then created separate material nodes for each type of material to keep the node graph clean and manageable. It's important to analyze how materials are layered in real life, what sits underneath and what goes on top. Then build your materials accordingly. For this project, the base layer was metal, followed by paint, then rust, with additional materials like iron, leather, and glass in other areas. Let's take the green paint area as an example to break down how I created my materials. I started with a tileable base texture and masked certain areas to keep them slightly brighter. Then I added another tileable texture on top to break up the surface and introduce variation. After that, I projected the white and red paint layers according to the concept. Next, I used the ambient occlusion map, which I baked at the beginning, to drive the dust mask. I also added a tileable node for directional leaks, projected additional leak maps, and introduced more grunge. Mud buildup was added mainly near the lower areas of the asset to reflect ground contact and wear. I used the curvature map to generate and control the rust mask for edge wear and exposed metal. Finally, I generated all the necessary supporting maps, including base color, roughness, bump, metalness, and custom masks for look development. Here are a few tips I found useful along the way. For better control, I reorganized the UVs based on materials to make selection easier. You can select by object, face, or patch, and even create selection groups for better organization and faster access. Naming these groups helps keep everything clear, and you can easily hide or show them to paint parts that are otherwise hard to reach. Using bake point nodes helps maintain performance and keeps the graph responsive as it becomes more complex. These smart materials and masks I've created specifically based on my asset, and they are available for you to download and use in your own projects. This pack includes a smart vehicle paint, paint material, metal, and rust, as well as several masks such as damage and mud masks. You'll also find key parameters that give you control over the final look, allowing you to adjust the color, change the tiling, and control the amount of mud or damage you want. Each material is provided settings, and the same applies to the masks as well. Thank you for watching. I hope this was useful to you.